We are about to start the. Oh, I'm going to. Yes, the whole thing about the beacons is it's sort of an event that sort of snuck up on us, didn't it? All of a sudden, from an email from the palace. In that sort of sense, I hope you're going to explain all that sort of back history about how it kind of occurred and how that happened. Hadrian's Wall seems to have a thing about beacons and fire and so forth ever since the where is it? I have a copy somewhere of the connecting. Ever since this event, which was a small event that happened a few years ago that you might remember, it was my first ever day on Hadrian's Wall. Actually, I came into the office the day after and met all these people that were sort of dark rings around their eyes and sort of somewhat hyper because they'd not been asleep for hours on end. So yeah, after that, we seem to have got typecast with beacons. But in this case, for the 70th anniversary of our Queen's reign, we were approached directly by the brilliantly named Pageantmaster, Bruno Peake, to honour the Queen with a series of 70 beacons along the length of Hadrian's Wall. I'm not going to say any more because I know I'm going to take away the thunder of the resident Hadrian's Wall Beaconmaster. What a job title that is, Jez. Are you going to like have a tea? I bet your mum's really proud. Jez is going to introduce how, why, and what this event is in that sense, and also hopefully how you and we might all get involved in the celebrations over the course of the early June bank holiday, the new extended bank holiday over June. And so without any further ado, Jez, I'd like to invite you to share your screen and take us for a walk.
Thanks very much, John. Right, let me do the technical bit, see if this works. Okay, can everyone give me a thumbs up? Yeah,
that's great, Jez. We can see that.
Brilliant. Okay, so yeah, my name's Jez Light. I have form in terms of working on sort of large scale projects, including on Hadrian's Wall. I was quite heavily involved with the Hadrian's Cavalry project back in 2017. But my introduction really to working on the wall came with connecting light back in 2012, which I know will send shudders down the spine of Kerry and perhaps others in terms of that enormous logistical challenge of trying to get illuminated globes all interacting every 170 meters across the full span of the wall. So we learnt a lot, I think it's fair to say, from those projects. But I certainly sort of inherited it, or it really garnered a love for Hadrian's Wall for me. And so it the reason that I've ended up becoming Pageantmaster for this, Beaconmaster for this project. I nearly gave myself a promotion then. The reason I ended up with that was actually through Hadrian's Wall 1900, because one of my other hats is events manager at Hexham Abbey. And at Hexham Abbey, I'd organised an event called Festival of Flame, and that was back in 2019. And I really wanted to incorporate some of the themes of Hadrian's Wall, the Romans, and that 1900 theme into the Festival of Flame for 2022. And I ended up having in a roundabout way, I ended up having a conversation with Lady Jane Gibson, who, as I'm sure you'll be aware, is the chair of the Hadrian's Wall Partnership, about this Festival of Flame. And I could see some cogs whirring as we had the conversation. And towards the end of it, Jane confessed that she'd got a bit of an idea, but she wasn't actually allowed to discuss it with me. But might I be interested in a project that would culminate on the 2nd of June 2022, and I was quite intrigued. And the reason that she had thought that I might be the chap for the job was because I seemed obsessed with the idea of setting things on fire, and so here I am as the Beaconmaster for Hadrian's Wall, as we celebrate the Queen's Platinum Jubilee on the 2nd of June 2022. There is a huge amount of interest from the Pageantmaster, Bruno Peak, in seeing a line of beacons across Hadrian's Wall. And we've chosen to interpret that as being a line of beacons across the community of Hadrian's Wall. But I'll start by just giving a little bit of background on the Jubilee and the project itself. So, as I'm sure you are all aware, if only because of Nicholas Witchell on the BBC signing off every report that he gives with, and all this in the Queen's Platinum Jubilee year. This year is a special anniversary, not just for Hadrian's Wall, but also for the Queen. It's 70 years on the throne. I think it's incredible to think that she has been on the throne for so long. It's incredibly unlikely that anyone will ever achieve, if you like, that feat ever again. So this really is a special celebration. It will be the last Jubilee celebration of her time with us as our monarch. And I think the key thing I would always stress with all of this is I see this as an event for everyone, and you don't have to be a royalist. And even if you're a complete Republican, I hope that you can find it very much within your hearts to actually think that we do have something considerable to be grateful to the Queen for. And that longevity and that length of service is absolutely. So a year of celebrations, really, and there are things which will happen throughout the year, and there will be the extended bank holiday from the 2nd to the 5th of June, and you'll have heard, no doubt, about some of the things that will be happening throughout the year. So we've got the Queen's Green canopy, where you can plant a tree for the Jubilee. There is the big Jubilee lunch, which will be taking place in community across the country between the 2nd and the 5th of June. And then we've got the extended bank holiday weekend. And you can see how the Platinum Jubilee Beacon celebrations fits into that weekend, which begins, and that extended weekend starts on Thursday, the 2nd of June. And the Platinum Jubilee Beacons are the first national community celebration of the Jubilee. And we go first, and we go big as well. The national celebrations will take place in 1,500 communities across the UK. And then further out into the Commonwealth and the capital cities of many countries across the world. So it really is a significant celebration, and everyone across the UK and Commonwealth and beyond are encouraged to get involved in the simple act of lighting a beacon. And we will join together in unison with elements of the celebration, and I'll come on to the things Wall has within these celebrations. So on the day itself, there are some set piece celebrations, and not everyone will be able to join in with every element of this. The range of size of the Jubilee Beacon celebrations is going to be huge. It could, in theory, it could be someone lighting a bonfire in their back garden with their friends, or having a couple of drinks and a great time. That's brilliant. You've lit your beacon. At the other end of the scale, the local authorities across the wall are all invested really in putting on much bigger set piece events to show how the county or the local authority are going, how they want to mark the occasion. One day, town criers will announce a proclamation giving details of the lighting of the beacons that night. For those communities without town criers, it is perfectly acceptable to have a civic dignitary of some sort making the announcement. And of course, that announcement could be made on Facebook as much as it could be made on the town square. Then, as we get later in the evening, and I think to put it in context, the sun doesn't set on the 2nd of June until 9:38 p.m. And so this is going to be a bit of a late night, but I would point out that, of course, the kids will be off school on both the Thursday and the Friday. So, for this special occasion, I think it would be worth trying to keep some of our younger members of our community awake, because this is an absolutely unique occasion. So there is an opportunity at 9:35 for Northumbrian or Scottish pipers to join in with the first formal part of the evening, where they can play a specially composed piece. And I should really learn how to pronounce this, but I'm thinking it's Du Regnier, and that, so the pipers will join together across the whole of the UK and quite possibly beyond in the playing of that piece. At 9:40, buglers or cornet players, if you don't have a local bugler, that's an option, will perform again a specially composed tune called Majesty, and again that will be in unison with the rest of the country. Then at 9:45, as choirs sing a song for the Commonwealth, which is a song that has been a competition winner. I think the lyrics were written by someone in Australia, and the tune written by someone in Africa, but I stand to be corrected on that. So it really was an international competition to write this song for the Commonwealth, and choirs and singers will perform this as beacons are lit in all communities across the UK, except for us on Hadrian's Wall, because we have got unique special dispensation to go 15 minutes later to make Hadrian's Wall a unique proposition, to make it stand out as the single largest celebration that night. As you can imagine, there won't be many celebrations that span, well, what will probably actually be around 90 miles across, and then carrying on down through Hadrian's Wall country. So at 9:45, the rest of the country light their beacons, and actually for many of us, we'll be able to watch that on our TVs, I'm sure. Before then, going out and lighting our own beacons in the across the communities of Hadrian's Wall, and creating our very own special line of fire at 10 o'clock that night. So what we're looking to achieve with this is a real mix of community celebrations, absolute grassroots, where people get together, organise themselves, and they light beacon. We'll come on to the different types of beacons that can be used for this. And we're obviously particularly focused on the communities across the wall, although I am also responsible for encouraging people to celebrate the Jubilee across Northumberland more generally. We want to include visitor attractions whilst being mindful that a lot of visitor attractions would face some significant logistical difficulties with inviting large numbers of public to come and witness a beacon being lit in their location. And so some of those locations we will do some filming in advance, and we will light beacons there and capture some footage of it. And then we will be stitching that into a short film sequence that can be used by the communities across the wall, should they choose to, as part of their celebrations, and give that real sense of Hadrian's Wall being joined up. Because wherever you stand on Hadrian's Wall, you're not going to be able to see 70 or however many beacons there are on that night. And so we wanted to do something which really captured that sense of what it might look like if you were almost traveling across the wall in an aeroplane, and getting that sort of global view of it. And then set piece local authority events, and there are 7 local authorities across the wall, and at least 5 of them are planning on doing significant set pieces, which are going to be, generally speaking, public events, and they're going to really look to reflect the way that Hadrian's Wall passes through their community, and it often will be based on or near parts of Hadrian's Wall, but certainly in Hadrian's Wall country. And as such, we're looking to coordinate that wall-wide response from local authorities, visitors, destinations, but also communities and individuals, farmers in particular. We've asked the National Farmers Union to communicate with all the farmers in Northumberland and in Cumbria to encourage them to think about hosting a beacon on their patch of land that might be close to the wall. And we're also in conversations with parish councils and just with individuals who have a real passion for wanting to celebrate and mark this occasion. We want to showcase Hadrian's Wall as a focal point nationally and internationally. And we hope, therefore, to attract the kind of media coverage that you would expect from a really significantly important event. And we're already in discussions with most of the major networks about how they might want to cover the event on the night. And then we absolutely want to dovetail the offer with the wider Hadrian's Wall 1900 celebrations. As much as anything, that's why I'm here today talking to you all about it as part of the 1900. We see this as being part of the 1900, and we see the 1900 as informing as well, being part of the Jubilee beacon celebrations. And we want Hadrian's Wall to be reflected throughout that. And the creation of that film, as well as the themes and locations that are being used by local authorities for their set piece celebrations, really do speak to the wall. So what we're not looking to do is we're not looking to recreate anything that's happened in the past. We're not looking to put beacons directly onto or next to Hadrian's Wall. There will be an element of us doing that as part of the pre-filming, but we're not encouraging people to light a fire on Hadrian's Wall. We're looking to celebrate the communities of Hadrian's Wall within the communities and within places that are suitable for doing that, because hugely respectful of the ancient historic monument that is Hadrian's Wall. So this is a bit of a map which gives you an idea, I suppose, of where we're at the moment with some of the beacon locations that we know have been confirmed already, being shown in the sort of gold colour. And then we've got the dots in red as being locations where we're considering doing some pre-filming. So I think you can see already, now we're at the beginning of March with 3 months to go. You can already see there's quite a clear line going across the wall, and we'll be looking to fill the gaps in wherever we can, working with those local community groups, parish councils, visitor destinations, to get as much of a line as we can. And as I say, we're not tied to the line of Hadrian's Wall. We're absolutely not tied to parts where Hadrian's Wall is clearly visible. We are talking about Hadrian's Wall country, and when we're stretching that, happy to stretch that definition as far as we can to create the longest possible line. So we're even beyond Maryport and down through places like Seascale and Muncaster Castle. And Muncaster Castle is a location that we would very much like to think of pre-filming a beacon being lit, as well as hoping that there will be a beacon lit there on the night. So I've layered on top of this map the different local authorities that are going to be participating, and I just want to give a flavour without giving too much away, because as you can imagine, these plans are still in the making, and I don't want to go too public with people's plans, but to give an idea of the scale of the event and the fact that the locations are incorporating their own history and their own relation into their plans. So South Tyneside are working on the idea of taking a beacon in a boat down the river, and they have some brazier type beacons on their on the beach at I think it's Sandhaven Beach, and then another beacon up at Law Top. And so they will light 2 beacons there on the night and build their celebrations around that particular moment. So making use of the river. North Tyneside, their celebrations will be based at Segedunum. So a fairly clear link there with Hadrian's Wall, and they're planning to have fireworks, community performances, and of song, dance, music, and they're looking to fire a massive gun twice as part of their celebrations. Newcastle are looking at having 3 separate locations for their beacons, east, west, and central. So in the east, it will be looking at doing something in Ousburn, which we're thinking is likely to involve some projections up onto the Byker Bridge, and they're very keen on, I think, on using that stitched together footage of beacons being lit in, if you like, in advance. And the central celebration will be outside the Civic Centre, and we think that will be where they will join in with the formal elements of the event, with the piper, the bugler, and the choir. And there will also be a celebration out in the west, sort of up on or beyond the West Road, where there's an exposed part of the wall, a beacon being lit up there, quite close to the A69. Then moving into Northumberland, so we're really into central wall territory here. The County Council have asked me to organise an event at Caulfield's Quarry. It will be invited guests. For those of you familiar with Caulfield's Quarry, you'll know it hasn't got an enormous capacity for car parking, and it's not a huge site. So it will have to be a relatively small audience for it, but with a real focus on capturing everything on film so that we can share that with a much wider audience afterwards. The central theme of that show is the ruler of his time in Hadrian, in the 1900th year of his wall, paying tribute to our current ruler, Queen Elizabeth II, on the occasion of the 70th anniversary of her ascension to the throne. And we're going to use the pre-filmed sequence of beacons as part of our show, and we will also have our own short line of beacons as it approaches Quarry, up close to the wall. And the highlight of the show will be an archer firing a flaming arrow into a floating bonfire. So quite ambitious, quite technically challenging, but if it was easy to do, then everyone would be doing it. So we're looking forward to embracing that challenge and making that really a really worthwhile spectacle that people can enjoy both on the night, but mostly afterwards as part of the legacy of the event. And then moving across to Carlisle, plans are afoot for beacons both in the castle, potentially up in the ramparts. Sorry, excuse me, I've got someone at the door. So yeah, beacons up on the ramparts in the castle, and then also potentially a celebration at the cricket club where the current excavations of the wall are ongoing. Then moving out towards Allerdale and Copeland. In Allerdale, we are looking at creating a significant sort of piece of footage, working with the community in Bowness, and using their skiffs to transport torches that will then be used to light a beacon on the beach. So they're very excited about that. On the night, we believe that same group is going to have a Jubilee themed pub quiz, and then stagger out and go and light their bonfire down on the beach. So I think just a completely different example of how a community is going to celebrate. And in Copeland, we're looking at relatively small scale community interventions, really along the coastline there, to help us stitch together that line across the wall. So I hope I've given a flavour, at least, hopefully without giving too much away, of how the different local authorities are responding to this. And our focus is really going to be on encouraging now the smaller community events to almost, if you like, fill in the gaps, but really become part of that wall-wide narrative. In order to achieve this, there is currently in Northumberland, for those of you in Northumberland, there is a community chest fund available. I believe there are still some funds left in Tynedale, but they are quickly running out. So if you're in Northumberland, then it's worth checking that out. There are some wider funding opportunities. So again, worth just having a look around and see what is still accessible for funding. Some of these funds have have now closed. I think I've still got up the Arts Council in England up there for the Let's Create Jubilee Fund, that actually closed on the 28th of February. So I would encourage you not to not to spend too much time trying to discover that. So yeah, John says the scale of the celebrations varies from the spectacular down to the absolute in your back garden, on your bit of land, with your friends, with your family beacons. And we want to hear about them all, because the more beacons that are lit across the wall, the more impactful the symbolism is of us creating that line, and the more interest will be from people in the media and people across the country and beyond. And we really do want this to be an occasion where we absolutely shine a spotlight on Hadrian's Wall as we celebrate the Jubilee on that night. So there are 3 different types of beacon that can be used. And the first one is a gas-fired beacon, and they are. It's probably it's a relatively expensive option. It's £495 plus the VAT. But as you can see from the sketches of the designs there are actually 2 different designs, and they are available to be ordered now. And they will be delivered in May, and they're 2 separate supplies. And the key website to check out in terms of those suppliers is queensjubileebeacons.com. There is an official guide to taking part contained within that. And we also have our own more focused website for Hadrian's Wall, which has just gone live, and it's so recent that I'm just going to have to look it up. And the second type of beacon is the brazier, and you may have seen brazier beacons in locations around the country, where it's essentially a giant metal basket that sits on top of a telegraph pole that has been repurposed in order to get the elevation. They're normally 8 or 10 feet up in the air, and they would be filled with wooden logs and then set on fire. And they're the sort of the classic image, I suppose, of beacons that would then be visible for miles around and used to alert people of something happening. Now, the key thing with these braziers, having spoken to the Pageantmaster, is not everyone can either afford or get permission to put a giant brazier up on a telegraph pole. And so in discussion with the Pageantmaster, he is quite comfortable with the idea of a ground-based brazier being used, and they're actually can be bought on the internet very very cost effectively, certainly less than £50 for something like that. But the request from the Pageantmaster is very much, please try and put it somewhere where it can be seen from as far away as possible. So if you have a bit of high ground, get it up on the high ground. If there's a solid platform that you can put it on safely, obviously, then please do that as well. And then the third type is probably the simplest type, although if looking at the example in the photo, that probably wasn't the simplest bonfire to put together, but it is your communal garden bonfire. So, again, there are where it can be done safely, where it can be done without damaging ground or property, and obviously where it can be done without there being any risk of any damage to the wall itself. Then a bonfire can be appropriate, and a lot of town and parish councils will have experience of creating bonfires for bonfire nights, and we would we would encourage people to look at that kind of approach. And again, in the official guide to taking part, there is more information on how to build a bonfire safely and correctly, to be able to create that sort of community event. And if you're going with a bonfire, then make use of the bonfire. I guess if it's a small bonfire, then cook some marshmallows on it. If it's a long, then stand back, enjoy, use the warmth to stay warm on that night, which we're all hoping will be a beautifully clear and warm night. But it's you never can tell with the weather. So they're the three types of beacons that can be used. And in essence, I think that is it is to a certain extent open to interpretation. And I think the celebrations on the night, as long as a beacon is lit at 10 p.m, then everyone's happy. We have marked the occasion. The inclusion of a piper, a bugler, and a choir is very much the cherry on the icing on the cake. They are not compulsory elements, nor is it compulsory to have the gas-fired beacon or a brazier on top of the pole or an enormous bonfire. It's whatever you can do that is suitable for your location and suitable for your audience. The key thing is that we join up at 10 o'clock on that night. We light our beacons and we celebrate the Jubilee in the year of the 1900th year of Hadrian's Wall. So I think I'm going to stop there and see if there are any questions.
Thank you for that, Jez. That was really informative in that sense. I'm just looking through the chat that's on the side here, and probably should pick up on Hester's point, which is, will there be one central place to find out about all the events, or will we need to contact each local authority to find out about the beacons? I'm just about to post, Jez, in the chat, the link to the news page on the Hadrian's Wall Country website. Would you recommend that as the most central point, the central point to contact first?
I think that's a good shout, John. There is also we have got a website that we're just testing really at the moment, but we will post the link onto the link that John's putting up there as soon as we're happy that that's good to go and is useful, and we will keep that website updated with all the information, and that will include a lot of useful links as well for things like the official guide to taking part, and also we've got a couple of downloadable documents on encouraging people to think about how they can plan and organise their events on their own local patch.
The next comment down was from Rob. Yes, I was involved in both the 2010 Illuminating the Wall and the 2014 Jubilee celebrations at Housesteads, both memorable occasions. There's something about it, isn't there? It's just a simple act, but it sort of really resonates, I think, just this marking of the wall. Yeah?
It was very well supported, and I think it caught the public's imagination, hasn't it? I don't know if you can actually see, John, but that's 12 years ago and it still fits. I'm quite proud of that.
You fashionista, you. Okay, honestly. Yeah, no, it's one of those things, and it really has captured the imagination of the palace and other organisations. I mean, the Olympic one that Jez was referring to earlier with the big balloons thing, the Olympic Committee approached us to put those on Hadrian's Wall to mark that event, which is, you know, an amazing thing for London 2012. And the fact that the palace has reached out again for the 70th anniversary celebrations just shows what it's meant to them as well. So it's meant something to the individuals involved, but it sort of really hit, you know, the country bit wide between the eyes in that sense. So I think that's a total compliment to Hadrian's Wall, along that sense. In that sense, yes. If guys want to get hold of you directly, is through that page still the best place to go?
Yes, or my email address. I'm just going to post up in the chat, jubileebeacons@gmail.com, and I'm going to take the risk of popping my mobile number up there as well.
Oh, so you can harass Jez all you like every day and night. Hester, your comment is absolutely fascinating. Jez, have you seen the comment in the chat from Hester about
yes.
we're in Scotland near Dumfries?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things we are looking to do is work with both the communities of Bowness and Annan. Because that part of the Solway Firth is the part where Hadrian's Wall is genuinely on the border of England and Scotland. And so we are keen to work with the community in Annan as part of this Hadrian's Wall narrative, as part of the idea of it being a border, but something also that connected people. And so they're going to be providing one of the skiffs that is rowed across the Solway Firth from Scotland to England. This celebration, the wider Jubilee celebration, goes across the whole of the UK and out into the Commonwealth as well, and anyone can take part. If you wanted to withhold lighting your beacon until 10 p.m. In solidarity with the rest of us on Hadrian's Wall, I don't think anyone would have a problem with that at all. I think it would be very welcome. Although it would probably be stretching the definition of Hadrian's Wall country to include Dumfries. I for one would welcome it. So please let us know your plans, and we can share it. I think the fact that you're here today, to find out more about it, shows that you are part of that narrative, we will stretch the definition as far as we possibly can. But yeah, do come out in solidarity with us at 10 o'clock on the night. Why not?
There's a story there, Hester, that one of the ambitions of the palace when they first approached us was to have a sort of call and response between England and Scotland across Hadrian's Wall. Somehow in London, there's still this idea that the whole of Hadrian's Wall is the border between England and Scotland, and that something was going to happen there. Obviously, as Jez says, along the Solway is the only place that can happen. So you in Annan, it's absolutely brilliant if that could happen, and you wanted to respond to the line of light opposite you, as it were. I see that there's a hand up from both Catherine and Nigel Jarvis. It may be a double hand or one hand. Do you want to come in, Nigel or Catherine, whoever's behind that non-video screen?
Hi, good morning.
Hi, Nigel.
Hi, thank you. Just looking back to those previous stunning lighting of the wall events, the area around here in the middle of the wall got absolutely clogged with visitors who were interested to see what was happening. They may not understand now that this event is a bit different. Is there any effort to try to get the message out, although it seems like a slightly negative one, about people not turning out? And the other side of the question is that we advise a lot of people to go over the south side of the A69 and up into the end of the Pennines, where you can see a couple of miles of wall. And actually the spectacular vision from there was much greater than it was to try and clog up the military road, as happened, and only see maybe one or two activities happening. And especially if you've got things happening at lower levels in back gardens and everything else, the view from the end of the Pennines is going to be much better than it will be locally.
But that's certainly good to know. And I wasn't involved in the illuminating Hadrian's Wall original project, but I was. I worked for 6 weeks on the Connecting Lights project, and that's how I met Kerry and probably John as well, actually, thinking back. And I was very aware that encouraging people to drive along the military road is all at once not a great idea. People were, you know, the temptation to abandon your car to try and take a photo of something which actually from the military road is still going to look like a sort of pinprick of light. It's not that it's not particularly satisfying. It's problematic, and I think on both occasions, Bird Oswald in particular suffered quite badly with people just turning up, ditching their cars, and hot-footing it up onto the site in the hope of seeing something there, because they'd driven they'd driven the sort of the full length of if you like, the full length of the Northumberland stretch, at least, of the wall, with the hope of seeing something spectacular. So no, our communications will all be around encouraging people to go to their local celebration. There will be some larger public ones, but not a huge number. We know that Vindolanda, though, are going to put on a free event that night, and they will be lighting probably a number of beacons actually across their site, and joining in there. So I think, you know, that will be the kind of thing that we encourage people to go and see. We certainly won't be encouraging people to go up onto the wall, and we won't be encouraging people to go, you know, unless there is something specifically organised. And is all around lighting beacons along the communities of the wall, and no doubt that nuance will be missed by some people, but hopefully we won't have that, you know, that sort of huge convoy of cars who actually probably as a spectacle, all of those reversing, all of those tail lights and headlights that you could see snaking across the wall was almost, I suspect, as much of a spectacle as the beacons themselves. I think what we're trying to capture is almost the romance and the impact of flames and beacons, and that idea of it stretching across not just the 70 miles of, if you like, of the wall itself, but beyond that, through Hadrian's Wall country. It's an idea, it's a concept. There won't be anywhere where you can stand where you'll be able to see the whole thing. So let us do some filming, let us stitch it together, and it will then be there as part of the legacy of the Jubilee and of the 1900.
I think that follows on with her in the chat, Hiromi's comment about, will there be a documentary on this? Jez, we're very keen to produce lots of film footage, aren't we, of the evening, but we do have interest from local news and well, from a number of channels about covering the beacons, as it were. But I just wanted to reiterate Jez's sort of comments. This is about the people of Hadrian's Wall honouring the Queen rather than the monument itself, and we're desperately wanting to make that your celebration, your address to the Queen, rather than the monument's address to the Queen. In that sense, the thing that links us together is the monument, but it's not defining the event. It's the people that define the event individually, in that sense. David, it was, yeah, an enormous traffic jam. It was. I was up at Lamley watching it because I'd not started work on Hadrian's Wall at that particular point, and yeah, the light was blinded out by the headlights of the car that were on the military road instead. One thing that really resonates for me when you showed the map earlier on, Jez, is that West Coast involvement, and I think it's great to see the whole World Heritage Site involved in this, not just the curtain wall. And I saw Peter Frost-Pennington on the call earlier on, or should I say Hadrian himself, and I'm really glad that you've got your beacon and beacons hopefully lined up down there. Peter, do you want to tell us a bit about what you've already been up to this year, to be fair?
Well, we were delighted that at the start of the festival, the Emperor actually sailed in from Rome and graced us with his presence and told us off a bit for how poorly we'd been looking after his bathhouse and needed re-roofing and things. But he did still manage to have a bath in his bathhouse. And yeah, I'd just like to mirror that. I actually managed to get to Segedunum a few days ago, last weekend. So it was brilliant to see that end of the wall and you know, see the similar but totally different situation, because they're obviously in a very urban setting, which was fabulous to see, and it's just helped me, and I'll be hopefully contacting them to draw the links together, because the whole point of this is the communities across the whole stretch of Northern England. So delighted to see that we are mentioned and we're involved, and obviously been in 2 World Heritage Sites. That's great. So I look forward to further thing. And we've got plenty of car parking and ability to possibly, we haven't actually finally planned where we're going to put our beacon, but I think we can put in a location. And I presume that is the beacon in Millom going to be towards Black Combe? I know you probably don't know the locations too well, Jez, but that would be good, because we put our beacon on the top of one of our hills, it'll be seen by there and seen as far north as Seascale, linking in with Maryport and hopefully Whitehaven. So I like the emphasis that it's not to encourage people to rush to the wall. It's a homage to Her Majesty, and emphasise just how wonderful the north of England is, and the south of Scotland, being a Scot.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think I've posted those links up to the websites and things. What I would stress is that you know, the events will be made as public as you want them to be made. And so yeah, Peter, if you're looking to encourage people to attend, we will reflect that in the way that we communicate that, and we'll support you with that. But there will be other locations where either because they don't want to encourage thousands of people to descend, have to manage that sort of number of people, or simply because it's a private event. At that point, the messaging around that will be quite, you know, will be quite different. And you know, the placing of the icons on the map, you know, hopefully won't give away too detailed sort of information as to exactly where the things are going to go. It's just there to indicate that something's happening there, and it will be joined up. But yeah, great to hear you're going to be inviting the public to come and attend. I think that'll be great.
Yeah, and we don't know if the Emperor will be drifting around somewhere as well, but we'll see. I know he's a very busy man, but you know, we
do need to definitely have that conversation. I need to find Hadrian a guard before I can officially invite Hadrian.
Yeah, it's great. It's just emphasising the wall is not a divide; it's a bridge, you know, between communities and through communities. And from my search, it's great to hear that Hadrian was actually stepping back from war and defining the extent of his empire and saying no more, no further, and linking. And I loved that it wasn't, you know, an aggressive thing. It was, I mean, some people would argue it was, but it was, as I understand it, he was a peacemaker rather than a warmonger, and that's what we need in this day and age, certainly.
Peter, you've nearly given us an amazing segue into the next talk, which is at 12:30 with David Brough, and the place of World Heritage in peace, in that sort of sense. But before we can do that, I just wanted to come to Janet's comment that's popped up in the chat. We're looking forward to the Ousbourne Beacon in Newcastle. People forget the wall crossed the valley there. Absolutely, this is the time to literally make that apparent, make that visible, and I think it's so important to use this opportunity to make the invisible visible wherever we possibly can. Yeah, the curtain wall is dead easy to see, but if we can light that line of the wall, then I'm all for that, and I'm really excited about the Ousbourne work. And Newcastle's just involvement, really. They've really got behind it with their 3 celebrations in the West Central and east of Newcastle. So yeah, can't wait for that. Right, are there any other questions for Jez? I'm involved with the trust, yeah. No other questions for Jez. I'm really excited. I think the Queen just wanted to be in on 1900. That's my take on it. So she really wants to have a go. I'm just going to say that my shower curtain is a representation of the medieval Goth map. I don't know whether you're aware of that map, and it's showing the UK. It's a really early map. It's showing the whole of Britain, and it only marks ecclesiastical buildings, really, because they're important to the map maker. And the only other thing that's on there is a big red squiggly line where Hadrian's Wall is. So that's how important Hadrian's Wall has always been. And I think this is just reinforcing that fact that Westminster and the palace and so forth want to want to have it as part of their celebration. So it's just really compliment to us as the current garrison of Hadrian's Wall. So thank you very much.